Hello and welcome to the first edition of Journalist Hangout this week. Today on the program, Muhammadu Buhari, Atiku Abubakar locked in the tight presidential race as National Assembly elections witness big surprises. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mayor Akingbelu. I'm Sulaiman Alede, and Journalist Hangout starts now. It is said that the race is not just for the swift, but also for those who can persevere. It appears that presidential candidates who contested Saturday's election in Nigeria would have to wait a little longer before a winner can emerge. Now, this is owing to the very tight nature of the race. The two leading candidates, President Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, are locked in a tight presidential race, according to results released so far by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Our team of analysts, led by Babajide Kolade Otitoju himself, predicted such race on Journalist Hangout. Now, we'll take you back and share you some of those insights.
Well, people have been asking me, oh, where do you think the pendulum of victory will go, this and that? And I've been telling people that this will be a close race. I'll be surprised if it's not a close race. Two German journalists came here to interview me. They said they felt that I will be accurate. And I said, one thing that I expect to happen is for this race to be close. If it doesn't become a close race, I'll be shocked. Because putting everything together, I see a very interesting and close race.
In this election, you cannot say that this is the person that will win or this is the person that will lose, even in the Southwest. Traditionally, Southwest has always been a battle zone. Take, for example, in the last election.
But in 2015, the APC did well in the Southwest.
I was about saying that.
Yes.
That you would
but
have
in
thought.
all of those states, the battles were close.
Now,
Well, I did say earlier on my social handle that one of the best things for anyone to get into now would be maybe someone with a third eye. Now, gentlemen, good to have you on the program on the day Nigerians are still expecting the results. Now, Babajide, let's first of all start with you, because some would now by now be saying, are you the oracle?
Well, it's such a great feeling to be able to gauge the mood of not just the Nigerian people or their leaders. And sometimes, or most times, if you are able to put sentiments aside and you want to analyze politics, trends in politics, analyze elections, you are most likely to get it right. The problem with some of us is that if we like the APC, we don't want to hear that the APC cannot win in a state. If we like the PDP, we don't want to hear that the PDP cannot win in a state. So such people, when they make predictions, those predictions don't come to pass. For example, just even on Thursday, they were asking me questions about Akwa Ibom. The results from Akwa Ibom are not out. But we know what's going on there. And someone told me, oh, they're talking about Akpabio and what he could do. And I said that I'm not one of those who believe that Akpabio will perform miracles. You know, and I said I do not expect the APC to win Akwa Ibom. We wait and see. And then you also know that I've also talked about Dino many times. And I predicted on this program that even if Dino was put in prison, he could win the election easily from prison. And that you've seen what has happened. There is no part of Okun land where Dino didn't defeat Smart. So it shows clearly to you who the people preferred between Smart Adeyemi, who had been a senator before, and Dino. And Dino's strategy was very clear. Move closer and closer to the people. Give the hungry people bags of rice to share amongst themselves. Where poverty is rife, Where poverty is prevalent, those who show generosity, voters hardly forget them.
We'll come back later to look at that prediction which you had, I think, about Dino Melaye, because it's really good for my producers to get us that pretty much later. But Mayor, I like when I'm excited when I see journalists of great standing with me on the show like this. He started by saying that when you take away emotions, definitely you see what a lot of people really can't see. And I like to speak with journalists like yourself. Tell us, did you also share in that with Babajide?
Yes, it was obvious that it would be close because for a lot of reasons. One, we have a candidate, we have a candidate, an opposite candidate, that's also from the catchment area of the same catchment area, which is the north. We have a party, PDP, that is traditionally strong in southeast, south-south. So when you look at that, it is possible that Atiku is going to do relatively well or better than Jonathan did in the north. And if they can still take south-south and southeast, and then maybe share north-central, definitely it will be close. So it's obvious that when you look at the election, you know that the election will be close. And when you look at the results so far, though Buhari has won some more states, but the margin between them is relatively little.
I think, Babajide, if we go by what we have seen so far, with the close nature and the transparency we're seeing from INEC in the conduct of this election, why is it that some others are not seeing this? What's the hue and cry about? Because it's been transparent so far. Where A lost, a lot of people around that area will tell you truly, this is not his stronghold. He can't win this place. As you highlighted, you talked about Akwa Ibom and you talked about, the dynamics and the politics of Akwa Ibom State. Why is it that some are not seeing it?
Because they are simply biased. One of the biggest battles I get involved in is trying to let people know that, look, it is possible to be objective. People don't believe that you have to be objective. Today, if I say something that pleases you, I become a hero to you. The next day, if I say something that you don't like, you are an APC supporter, oh, that guy is already articulate. Funny things that people say because they assume that everyone must be like that.
Especially in the social media.
Yes, they assume that. Someone once suggested that I should be sacked. I know they need to sack him. And interestingly, the week that I suggested that I should be sacked was the week I was promoted. So we have all kinds of characters. It is extremely difficult to operate in our country as an objective journalist because there will be pressures here and there. And some of these pressures, you find it difficult to bear. Insults just because you've chosen to be objective. This is the way it is with our people. We've said before the election in Osun State the last time, I remember saying that it was too close to call. And I got called, why should you say it was too close to call? What are you talking about? That it was actually an APC control state. But the people who talk like that never try to monitor what's going on. They just imagine that because one party controls a state, that party must win, whatever happens. But as long as we continue to improve our electoral processes, the races will get tighter. The idea of writing figures rather than wait for people for the voters to decide who wins an election. Once it continues to fizzle out of our electoral processes, you see that the kind of humongous figures that you used to see, we are on a rainy day, will be told that 98% of voters came out to vote for a particular person, as we had during the Obasanjo years. Those things will no longer happen.
Let me bring Mary here, because I realize for the first time we're getting to see Nigerians being extra careful, especially in the social media. Time was whatever figure you send out, people take them hook, line, and sinker. But for the first time, in so many groups, I see people warn people, please don't drop this thing here. They've not started dropping the results. Where did you get yours from and all that? So hold it. It's some sort of kind of an awareness.
Yes, politics is all about emotions. That is why people wants to see what they want. That is why when Roger said, some people because they are involved, if you are supporting APC, you want to see everything from that president. You want APC to win or your PDP. But now there is more enlightenment. One of the things that social media has done is that everybody is now aware of things. Then news breaks immediately. You can get what is happening everywhere. And like I was discussing off here, when you take the violence and some of the logistics problem, if you take it out, this is one of the most interesting elections that we've ever conducted in Nigeria.
Yes.
Because when you look
I'm happy you're saying this.
Yes,
but
when you take the violence out,
why is it that they've been blown out of proportion, making it look like
people have to do that? You see, that's what I'm saying. That if I'm a PDP person and we are losing in a place, I have to come up with excuses. I have to you see that some of the people that are criticizing this process or what you are saying now are the people that are in opposition. You know, that somebody came out and did a video and tried to say, oh, we've won, they want to try to... You see, because that is about emotions, people want to defend that interest. But when you look at this election and what it has thrown up, you will see that this is one of the best, because you will see people lose in areas where everybody thought it was impossible for them to lose. You see sitting governors who have already won election in the entire state. They could not even win their senatorial district because people are saying, no, we don't, this is not where we want to go. You will see election in Lagos very close. Each party, PDP, coming with over 1 million votes in Lagos. So you will know that, yes, things are improving and eventually we will get there. Because if you look at it now, to a large extent, you can say that the people will be able to get involved in how this election is run.
I want you to weigh in on this, because this, especially what signal this is sending out to the people who are not really home here to really gauge what exactly has happened. For some, I think they run away with whatever is given to them. Just recently, I saw a video of a lady who was thumb printing, and someone sent that to me, and I said, that was a video I saw in 2015.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I covered the election, and I saw that video in 2015, but that video has resurfaced. How do you handle such?
Well, what can we do? I saw the video that you are talking about, and everyone knows that the ballot paper has been redesigned.
Yeah.
It's a lot wider than 2015 than we had in 2015. So it's not difficult for someone who is informed. It's not difficult to realize that, look, this is just something that a prankster brought up. So, but we need to constantly talk to our people. Even INEC needs to do a lot more to get the voters to realize that, look, your vote will count. The wish of the people will prevail. You know, political sovereignty lies with the voters. So as long as our processes continue to get more transparent, definitely the people will get more involved. Look at a state like Osun. The pattern of voting in the election held last Saturday is almost exactly like what happened during the governorship election
Of 2018?
Yes, 2018. APC and PDP won the same number of local governments that they won during the governorship election. So what only changed was that in some cases, like in Ede, instead of the 24,000 gap,
Vote margin there.
the margin, the PDP
Was about to catch up a little bit.
reduced it. And then, APC reduced the gap. The same thing the PDP also did to them in Osogbo, for example. The gap was narrowed by the PDP. And at the end of the day, APC won by just 10,000 votes. You go to a state like Nasarawa, APC won by, I think, about 5,000, 6,000 votes. This is a close election. This is a close presidential election, just as we predicted. And I know that there are some states too that the results are yet to to be released that will just be as close. We've seen, you know, look at Faleke in Lagos winning the House of Reps seat of Ikeja by just 3,000 votes.
Yeah.
So the more it gets, the more the margins get close, the more our people will believe in the system. Because in those days when votes were simply being written, oh, you see a huge gap. In some cases, a million.
A million.
You know? So, but now we can see clearly that those numbers were simply bogus, fake. Because the fact that we now have electronic means of accrediting the voter has now made vote rigging a lot more difficult. What people, those who are losing elections and trying their best to see if they could rig the process, they are wasting their time. Because everyone is tracking the result that you want to see whether you can alter. Everyone is tracking.
You know, talking about tracking of results, I think that there's something. I think we'll go on a short break. There's something we'll come back and explore, and it has to do with some of those, features INEC has put in place. I spoke to Ayo during the election, and I did see the tracking device, the navigational device for the movement of the ballot and sensitive materials from one point to the other, and a couple of other things. And when we come back on Journalist Hangout, we'll also be looking at the upset that this election has actually caused some of those you have called heavyweight politicians, and what this will mean, especially in Nigeria's National Assembly. Stay with us. Welcome back to Journalist Hangout. On the day, Nigerians and the world are waiting for the results of the biggest election in the history of our democracy. Now, it's a different ball game in the National Assembly elections. The outcome of the elections nationwide has been that of surprises. Now, so many politicians, the heavyweights, have fallen already and will not return to the Senate. Now, chief among them is the Senate President Bukola Saraki, who lost his return ticket to the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Abdurrahman Oloriegbe. One lawmaker who muscled his way through the re-election race is the embattled senator from Kogi West, Dino Melaye. As Babajide predicted on Journalist Hangout, Senator Melaye won the election. Let us recap that verdict.
Dino, at the time when the governor came up with the idea of recalling him, that Dino was not popular at that time. Many people, even in his hometown of Ayeto Ogbede, went to the extent of signing that he should be recalled. But Dino had more time, to work on his excesses. He became closer to his people. The politicians that he had abused, he made up with them, he begged them, to the point that even some of those politicians who began to caution their own people not to work against Dino. And they began, the same politicians that Dino had attacked in the past, they were the ones mobilizing against his recall. So he kicked the can down the road with those court cases, that he was using to try to stall the process. Yeah, he couldn't eventually stop the process. He stalled it. The process now, by the time the process resumed, he had gained a lot of traction to the point that there was nowhere where they were able to meet the requirement. No constituency in Kogi West where they were able to make the requirement. And that is not all. And since then, you remember he mobilized his colleagues in the Senate to go and donate rice to hungry people in Kogi. That also resonated with our people in my former state.
Who didn't have salaries to feed?
Yes, hungry people. So he took rice to them. His colleagues too, they came with him, took rice to them. So those little things, you may think that these are just symbolic, but it makes a huge impact on our people. And he comes out, you see him appearing to be fighting for his people. When he sings a song, you will know that it's actually Abelo that he's singing about. When he sang the other day, meaning that whatever a man sows, he shall reap. Let a man reap whatever he sows. People will say, oh yes, he's attacking Abelo again. So it will make those who do not like Abelo happy. So this is his strategy, and that strategy is working. Don't also forget that he's someone who speaks different languages. The most densely populated part of Kogi West is Koton-Karufi, Lokoja axis. Now there's a significant population of Hausa people and the rest. If Dino goes there, Dino speaks Hausa fluently, even more fluently than most Hausa people. And then when he speaks Hausa to them, he can recite the Quran. He's a rascal, he can recite the Quran. You know when Hausa man calls you Dainskan, he will recite the Quran. So before you know it, he's having more followers. So he's somebody, if they are not careful, what happens in the case of Omisore, or even this man,
one from
T.O.G. or Chendo Global,
while in prison.
He could be in detention and he will win the election even with wide margin.
Who doesn't like food? Almost everyone is turning into a foodie. And I just realized also that Babajide has a second job just in case he's done with this. Yes. You can go into singing.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Honestly, you did very well there.
Yes.
Trying to replicate.
I'm a songwriter, just that most people don't know.
Oh.
I'm a songwriter.
And I can go into predictions like most prophets now.
Yes, I think I need to start a church.
Anyway, now let's look at the nitty-gritty of this all, because one of the things, watching you there, I kept on saying perhaps Dino was unfair, uncharitable to some of his colleagues. He didn't give them in the street, they call them the PIN code, the tricks with which he won, this election. He had some other friends who are not coming back. Yes. So he didn't tell them this trick because, as highlighted by Babajide, he went straight to the grassroots. He made up with people, and he mended fences and a couple of other things he did. Now let's start talking about that before I bring in Emir Akingpelu here.
Yes, there is someone that Dino wronged, and one day that person called me and said, see, Dino will win this election by a wide margin. He said, everywhere I went in our area, we are talking about Dino. Once that person, because that person is one of the most popular politicians in the whole of Kogi State. Once he said that to me, I called my mom, because my mom made me to show interest in politics from a young age. And my mom said, people like Dino now, everybody wants to vote for the PDP next weekend. I said, this guy is likely to win. Dino made up with a lot of people that he offended, and the people see him in far more positive light than the man that he vanquished. They see him. Remember even schools in Kogi that were dilapidated. He took it upon himself.
He went about fixing them.
Yeah, fixing those schools. And Governor Yaya Bello, uprightly without shame, even went as far as stopping the commissioning of one of those schools that Dino rehabilitated. I mean, when you do that, you send the signal that you are just trying to persecute this person. All of those theatrics that Dino was doing, I said it on one of these programs. I said, the more we carry this guy, appearing to have a crooked leg, and the more we take him to detention and all that, he gains popularity with the people.
So the love of the underdog effect.
Yes, our people don't like, when you play the underdog, our people don't like people being victimized. He played the role of the victim effectively. He played the role of the victim effectively. So the moment anytime our people see him being taken away, he got more votes or he got more supporters. So this is one of the easiest predictions to make. And for a lot of our staff here in TVC, every time we spoke, I told them that nothing will stop him from winning. A lot of them didn't believe. I said, on that day, you will see that I spoke the truth. Because I had seen clearly that Dino had become extremely popular with our people. It's not easy for someone with all the experience that Senator Smart Adeyemi had to be so thoroughly defeated the way Dino has done. Even if if your own people can reject you the way they do, because there is no community where he did not defeat his opponent. You know?
Yeah, and I think
you saw that coming.
I think one of the reasons is that smart is perceived to be elitist. And Yaya Bello as governor, his performance as governor also did not help. So you now have a situation where you have somebody who can connect with the people. Politics is about numbers, and we have to get that. And in democracy, people do not look at it from, oh, this is the best candidate. They look at it from their own interests. Does this guy represent my interest? If not, there's nothing you can explain to that person, because if you remember that in Kogi State salaries were not paid for a long time, there is so much poverty among the people, and then you now have a senator. Yes, you now have a senator who could mobilize people to say, okay, bring food for them. You know, we could go to schools, which is a sign that the governor is not doing what he should do by doing those strategic schools. So he goes there to say he wants to renovate those schools. But one of the things that helped is what they said. The Okun are Yorubas. They are the Yorubas in Kogi State. You understand? And the Yoruba culture, naturally, is for the underdog. There is this fable about the tortoise and the in-law, and the tortoise that stole something, and the in-laws tied him, and people were abusing him to say, oh, you don't even have shame. How can you go and steal from your in-law when they were going to the market? And when they were coming back from the market, they saw him that the in-law was still tied the tortoise, and they said, how can you tie somebody from morning to night because he stole yam? You want to kill him? What is the problem? You must be a wicked man. Why do you want to kill this person because he stole yam? So that's the same thing with Dino. By the time all these theatrics about Dino in hospital today, Dino being candidate, Dino sleeping in the open and all that, people will just look at it to say, why are they doing this to this guy? What has he done? Why are they persecuting this guy? And this is the same person that they could relate with, that could bring food for them when they were hungry, that could take care of the schools for their kids. And then you now have a governor representing a party that have not paid salaries for so long. So it's not rocket science.
I'm not done with Dino yet, but I want us to see if we can start to create some nexus and see what we can learn from this. What are those things that, now we know what Dino did, what exactly, trying to juxtapose what Dino did to what Bukola Saraki didn't do or did?
Bukola had effectively lost connection with his people. There was an audio clip that leaked in which Bukola was begging for forgiveness. Those of you that had offended over the years, please forgive me, this and that. You must stay connected to your people at all times. That is how you can remain relevant. That is how they can retain their love for you.
Is that why they say politics is local?
Yes, if you start seeing yourself as too powerful, and the ordinary man, you see the ordinary man as insignificant, they will teach you an exemplary lesson someday. So for so long, a groundswell of opposition had been building against Bukola Saraki, and he clearly underrated the height of the anger. I mean, the level of the anger against him. I was speaking with a top APC member, and he said, see, we knew that the people were angry with him. We knew. We were keen to feed off the anger of the people. But we didn't even know that the people were as angry as they demonstrated on election day. Because what Dr. Lori Egbe's court was far more than double what
they expected.
Saraki scored. That could only have happened because the people were angry. They demonstrated their anger on election day. So that means over time, he had wronged these people without doing anything effective to try and make up with them. And probably the time that he had to make up with them was too short. The first signal that people were not really happy with him was when they stoned him in September 2015. After that, we didn't really. The next election after that was a local government election that the people showed their anger in Ajikobi ward. That's his ward, his traditional ward. He was defeated there while still in the APC. They lost the election
I recall
in
that
that
election.
unit. And even the result sheet went viral. People showed their anger on the day. But the bigger show of anger was still in the works. And that was what we saw.
When that happened, when that happened during the council election, he should have actually gone back.
He should have known that trouble was looming.
Brewing, yes.
And when they now had the by-election to replace Honorable Adedoyin, Funke Adedoyin, you know, the people showed their anger again. And APC, against expectations, won that by-election. It was at that point that even the APC leadership became really confident that they were going to take Kwara, you know, because they continued to say, yes, we are going to take Kwara. So it looks now like just a matter of time.
Let's talk
and
about
to add to that,
yes,
sorry,
go ahead.
and to add to that,
Go.
the forces against him was enormous, because I believe that the masterstroke was the gubernatorial candidate for APC, because they picked somebody from a prominent family, from the first family that produced the first lawyer in the northern Nigeria, from a prominent family. So they were able to tap to that royalty, to that influence within the Ilorin Emirate. And to add to that, the elites over time, like you said, were angry with him. So
I'll come back to you. I want us to talk more on that, talk about the elite, talk about the grassroots politics in Kwara State, and also we'll come to the Southwest and also see those who have actually beaten the dust. That will be when we return after now. It's our home run here on Journalist Hangout. We're still looking at the big surprises of this election. And don't forget, well, pretty much later, we'll be going into the National Collation Center to give you highlights of what exactly is happening there. I still have my colleagues here, Babajide Kolade Otidoju and Mera Kimpelu, looking at what has happened so far. Now, we were talking about the surprises, looking at what happened in Kwara State, and you were trying to also talk about the elitist connection that has also caused the Senate president.
I was saying that there are now the forces against him. There was no way the forces against him was massive, because apart from the candidate from a prominent family, the elites whoever came up with that slogan, Otoge, was a genius, because it's like you tell people enough is enough. We cannot be slave to this guy forever, and it caught on, and the elites it resonated, and the elites felt it is true. We have to take ourselves from this man, because, like you said, he didn't realize that it was that was a disconnect, and he didn't realize it. He felt, because as always, you see, when you enjoy power for so long, you start seeing yourself as being invincible. You take things for granted. You believe that, oh, we've always been there. This is our turf. We are the one in charge. Yeah, but the elites, because yes, he has a lot of influence on the women, the market men, the poor, and things that they used to give them. But there are a lot of people now who could give those people same thing, who could influence them, and a lot of these elites were against him. And there's no way they will not bring that dynasty down.
We're talking about surprises. Two other governors, which I want us to also talk about before we leave. One in Southwest and one from, I think, the governor of, is it Gombe State?
Gombe, yes.
That's Governor Dankwambo.
Yes.
Did you see that coming? Knowing full well that one would have thought that these were people who were, you know how they say,
was even a front runner for president.
You know how absolutely, and you know how they say it in politics. You know, in politics, I've seen a lot of politicians. They say, "I'm on ground."
Yes.
So I thought he was on ground.
I thought so too. I thought that whatever happened, even if he lost the state, he will be able to hold on to, and he will be able to win the senatorial seat. But sometimes when the people move against you, it's like a real movement. And just like Otoge was a real movement in Kwara, that everywhere they saw Saraki, they ran after him and reminded him that his time will soon be up. So it's like right now, the people of Gombe State had made up their minds to go for APC, because this was a rout. And you do not expect that where there is a sitting governor, that kind of rout will take place. I mean, the PDP was thoroughly beaten in Gombe. So, if you ask me, is also down to the transparent nature of the electoral process.
Absolutely.
Because if it was in those days when you could simply call the resident electoral commissioner and write votes, this would not have happened.
They call it the power.
They could even negotiate
Then.
to say, look, don't put me to shame. Let me just win this. Just my own senatorial seat. He could give up other positions, but his own. He could negotiate it. But things are different. Our elections are getting better. And this is what we want to see. We want a situation in which at all times it is the wish of the people that prevails, not the wish of power-hungry politicians.
You just reminded us that truly he contested. He was one of the
Yes,
aspirants
at the time, yes,
he
because
wanted to be president.
Yes, like Saraki, before Atiku eventually emerged, and Tambuwa at a point
Dan Kwambo was already there.
Dan Kwambo was touted as a leading candidate. Then Saraki joined, and Saraki too was there, and both of them could not. You see, and that is the beauty of this election. That's why I'm excited about this election, because if people who were governors, presidential candidates, could not win their senatorial district, even when they are on the ballot, it shows that we are getting it right.
Yes.
Because they're on the ballot. It's different. You will say, okay, I'm in this party, but people voted against my party. These people are actually on the ballot and they could not win it. Just the same thing, because the governor of Ajimobi, the governor of Oyo State, was the first person to do 2 terms as governor.
So he broke the jinx.
He broke the jinx
in Oyo State.
That's what I'm saying, in Oyo State to do 2 terms. And yet he could not. The people said, no, we can't vote you as a senator.
So what went wrong?
It's, at this point, I can't say with finality that this was where what he did wrong. But the people may just have felt, well, is he the only one there? You know, if you've been governor, you've been a senator before, you became governor, you did 2 terms, and now you want to go to the Senate again. There could be some people who say, oh, why does he want to go to the Senate?
But the same thing applied to Amosu. Amosu was a senator.
Yeah, yes.
He became 2-time governor.
It all depends on how well he connected with the people. Because whether we like it or not, the power rests with the people. So if we do not connect effectively with them, they will start coming up with all kinds of ideas.
Because I recall off the top of my head, there was a time in that state they had an issue with the students, and it was captured on
I agree
live,
with that. That's what I want to say.
And
because
he was chided for making that remark,
Yes.
referring to himself as the constituted authority.
Yeah.
Perhaps it could also mean that the people remembered how.
I may be wrong, but I think his problem has to do a lot with his PR, because he did well as governor.
Yes,
If you look at Oyo State, he performed very well.
It's a lot cleaner.
Yes, he performed very well as governor of Oyo State. I think the problem has to do with his PR. At the second part of his administration, he was not getting along with a lot of people. You know, he had problem with the students when this constituted authority thing came.
Yes.
At a point, he had problem with the monarch in Ibadan himself when he created some new posts, and the cabinet, the Oba didn't like it, so he had issues with that. There was a time recently he had a little problem with Ayefele, who when his house was so it has to do with a lot of PR. Like I said, people may just felt, oh, this governor is too arrogant, and like I said before, in politics, it is not who is the best candidate; it's the person who is more acceptable. Yes. That is why in a local government election, the local truth collector may defeat a professor of law.
Possible.
To
add quickly to that, in the last election, if the PDP had come together, they could easily have defeated Ajimobi, because the votes, when the votes of those disparate political parties are put together, it is higher. It will be higher than what Ajimobi eventually scored. Ladoja won far more local governments in Ibadan land than Ajimobi.
Yeah,
Ajimobi's victory owed to his performance in Okeogun. So at the end of the day, he earned that narrow victory. But in a senatorial contest, you know that it is not the whole, is the constituency or the area of the sphere of influence is not the whole state now. So if you are narrowed to maybe just about 10 local governments or 8 local governments, if you cannot dominate your own area of birth, maybe Ibadan land, if you cannot dominate that, it will be difficult for you to win the election.
I want you to speak on, to something he raised, and it has to do with the PR. And off the top of my head, I recall how a man changed the Ministry of Information here in Lagos State, Dele Alake, when he worked with Tinubu. He included a unit called strategy. Before then, it's always been Ministry of Information, yes, and he put strategy. So perhaps tell us about the strategic communication that may be absent, because for a man, as described by both of you, haven't performed, worked well, and did well, it didn't resonate in this election.
Dele Alake, apart from being a good journalist and editor, is also a good public perception manager. So if you have that kind of person around you, he will give you the right advice. Don't take this step. If you take this step, the public will react angrily. If you take this step, it will resonate well with the public. So you need such people. But it's not every governor, it's not every boss that is easy to manage. There are some of them, you even tell them this is the way to handle this matter, but they will choose to do things their own way. But when it becomes a big problem, you as their image maker will be the one running up and down trying to solve the problem that they created by the way they speak. So Ajimobi's problem, part of his problem is even the way he speaks. The way he speaks, that's his nature. He may not truly be arrogant in the real sense of the word, because I've met him. Yeah, and I remember the day I met him, he was really jovial, was very nice. He didn't look like an arrogant person to me. But sometimes when you talk, and people cannot live with the fact that this is the way you talk without actually pretending. They will see you as an arrogant person, someone who does not respect other people. So that, especially that video did a big damage to the reputation of the governor. And then
there
of course,
wasn't an effort to actually,
and then of course, how people like to side with the underdog, even when the underdog is wrong. Look at the IFLM matter when it happened. The people rose in a wave. No, you cannot do this to a man who has not got legs. But there's nowhere that it is written that once a person is physically challenged, he has the license to break the laws of the land. And the governor tried to explain this. He didn't still impress people. Ultimately, he had to repair the house that he partially demolished. So all of these things, some of them even brought out videos showing the way the governor spoke, how the governor even sought, how he used to be very humble in asking for people's support and all that, and how he promised that he would never demolish IFL's building. Well, that was what happened in the end.
Let's see if we can close on this very disturbing issue, because relatively, as both of you have agreed, and a couple of other people in the social media, and a while ago I was on journalist Hangout UK, and it was also agreed that relatively this is one of the most peaceful and transparent elections. That is why we've seen this upset. But how possible can that message go out? What is it that the nation or the people aren't doing pretty well? Because we saw what INEC did in trying to correct that false start that resulted to that postponement for this election. But it would seem as if a lot of people still don't appreciate, or some people don't appreciate.
I think INEC has to do more. They have to do more. You see, because perception is everything in politics. You can do well if people perceive you not to have done well. That is what they are going to look at. I think INEC has to strengthen their public affairs department to be able to engage people. You understand? They should be strong on social media. You're able to explain things. Because yes, it was not perfect. There was still, like I said, there was violence. They have to do something about that. They have to do something about the logistics. I don't know, they have to find a way of moving this idea of moving moving ballot papers and all that, and then they will be late, and the candidate will work or not work. They need to work on that. But when you take that out, and then they have to work on this idea of somebody cancelling votes in the area where they think there is violence or some people have created problems. Because I watched a program that Babajide was trying to explain that if I know that I'm not strong in a particular area, what I just need to do is to go and get some boys to go and create problem there. And then they will cancel the votes there. I know I won't win there anyway. So we have to find a way to solve that problem.
Yes.
But if you look at all those ones, they've done relatively well. Because, like I said, if they've not done well, they will not, because things that I like is that, one, the surprises that people who have instruments of state can be defeated.
Yes.
Ruling parties are defeated. Defeated. It shows that a ruling party can be defeated. Its governors are losing senatorial seats. Can be defeated. People who see themselves as invisible, as men of power, can be defeated. And all those bogus numbers that we used to see, you will see somebody who just come and say, "Oh, 2 million people voted for us here." 2-point-something million voted. In that place, 1-point-something. That one is gone forever. Because now we'll be able to know that, okay, to some extent, the people's voices or people's votes are counting, which is what is important.
So what does this mean? You know, going ahead, future elections, 2023, 2027, yes. What does this mean for us as a nation looking at our democracy?
It just shows that we'll continue to get better. The card reader is not a perfect device, and technology can sometimes give you a kick in the teeth, but we have no substitute to technology. We've tried all kinds of balloting systems. Had option A4, you know. I still think that we should invest in technology. Technology would deliver results of elections to us quicker than we have at the moment. Technology will make our elections more transparent. The moment Nigerians can see that the elections are transparent, they would show greater interest. I am not impressed with a situation in which 1.3 million registered to vote in Abuja, for example, and then the total number of accredited voters is just a little over 400,000. It means that not even up to half of the people who registered came out to vote. And it is like that across the country. Our voter turnout ratio remains low. I know that even in the developed countries it's difficult to hit the halfway mark, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to push. We need to get our people more and more involved in the electoral process, because it is by democracy that leaders are changed. We should be able to change our leaders when we think that they've not done well. And that way, when leaders know that the electoral system is such that they cannot manipulate, they will be more responsible. Their conduct will show that they are indeed responsible to the people. And it will be a win-win situation for the masses, because there will be improved governance and there will be real progress.
I think it's a fine place to say many thanks for being such nice company, gentlemen. Well, that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us again next episode, which is tomorrow, on the program, and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Sulaiman. Bye for now, and very, very resounding God bless Nigeria, and I'm saying amen.